Hello, I'm Karen Carlson, and I am joined today by my assistant and senior teacher, Leah Yeager. We are here today to talk about and distinguish the difference between an anatomical neutral spine and pelvis and what I call Pilates resting neutral. An anatomical position for the pelvis is distinguished by the alignment of the ASIS and the pubic symphysis all in one plane. The apex of the curve of the sacrum is at S3. We move up the spine, preserving the undulating curves that are both lordotic and kyphotic above the pelvis. The lumbar spine is lordotic with its apex at L3. One should see daylight under both lordotic curves, those being the cervicals and the lumbars, in a resting anatomical neutral. As we move up the spine to the thorax, the apex of the thorax is at T8. Up to the cervicals, the apex of the cervical lordotic curve is at C4. Considering the skull as a kyphotic curve, the apex of that curve would be the occipital protuberance. We would like to maintain anatomical neutral spine and pelvis in seated posture, standing posture, and a stable quadruped. Resting Pilates neutral eradicates the lordosis at both the lumbar and cervical spines. In doing so, this promotes an intrinsic pattern of recruitment for the act of flexion from supine to a seated vertical. Many of the Pilates mat exercises start in this supine position and involve flexion from supine to a seated neutral, or in the very advanced exercises into a V seat such as a teaser. What distinguishes resting Pilates neutral is first a skeletal 10-degree posterior tilt. The PSIS are then grounded and are posterior to the pubic ramus and to the lesser trochanter. In grounding the 12th rib, which also promotes the reduction of the lordosis of the lumbar spine, we reduce the lordosis of the cervicals, which loads weight into the 12th rib. This we achieve with a half-moon pillow. The half-moon pillow architecturally supports the cervicals and the base of the skull. The atlanto-occipital joint is released, which releases the origin of many of the spinal muscles that preserve the lordotic curve in the cervicals. Most importantly, however, it also places the position of the mastoid process, the origin of the sternocleidomastoid, in a position that is anterior to its insertion at the sternoclavicular joints. The reduction of the lordosis in the cervical spine promotes an intrinsic pattern of recruitment for flexion of the spine from the iliopsoas group. Grounded and stabilized is the 12th rib, the origin of the psoas major, which spans the lumbars attaching to the transverse process. The origin at the PSIS of the iliacus and the inside lip of the wings of the ilia is also stabilized. The insertion of the iliopsoas group is at the lesser trochanter in its anterior position relative to the stabilized origins of both muscles that make up the iliopsoas group. Because of the relative skeletal positions, this promotes an easy intrinsic recruitment pattern for the active flexion of the spine from supine to a seated neutral vertical. Thank you.